perfect version of Outrun that came to consoles. It looked great, it played great. In the UK, it was released as part of the Sega Ages collection, compilation disc. In Japan, it came out as a standalone game, but it was great. This actually ran smoother than the arcade. So before people were doing it with Soul Calibur and playing a game better than the arcades, Sega delivered with Outrun. It's still fun to this day. This is one of the best versions that you can play. So if you can get your hands on Saturn Outrun, I definitely recommend you give it a try. At number 9, we have the original Need for Speed. Now, this was a conversion of the 3DO game. I think that they did a great job here. They added more tracks, they added a much smoother frame rate and improved the visuals. Not everybody liked it, but for me, this is very, very playable. It's certainly not my favorite racing game on the system. And again, this was one that I picked up much, much later. So maybe that's why I don't have the appreciation for it that many do. But it's a solid game. It's a lot of fun to play and it runs great. So Need for Speed is at number 9. At number 8 is the Model 2 conversion of Manx TT. Now, this really does do an incredible job, I think, of recreating with the controller the weight of the bike. Of course, there wasn't the bike accessory for home purchase, sadly, but you still had this really weighty, excellent control system. They did a great job in terms of making sure that the game held up visually. It runs really, really smoothly and looks good. Obviously, the elephant in the room with this one is the fact that there are only 2 tracks, which doesn't give it a huge amount of longevity. But if you can pick this up cheaply, I think this is definitely worth a look. It certainly holds up next to the Model 2 original. It's Manx TT Superbike. So at number 7, and this is a rare game, karting games weren't really a thing until Mario Kart 64, and then you started to get the clones like Toy Story Racer, Diddy Kong Racing, Crash, of course, Crash Team Racing. Street Racer is a game that was different on every system, whether it was PlayStation.
Round 1. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 2. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 3. Ready, go! Knockout!
Well, it was ridiculous.
PlayStation, SNES, Mega Drive, but the Saturn version was easily the best. Using the Infinite Planes or Super Mode 7, whatever you want to describe it as, the Saturn version looked incredible. And because of the simplicity of the 2D graphics, this actually was, and still is, a really good looking game and holds up better than most. So actually I think I appreciate this game more today than I did back in the day, and that's why Street Racer is at number 7. So the Sega Saturn conversion of Virtua Racing always got a tough ride, and actually playing it now, I really don't think it's as bad as many of us thought. I had a great time playing this one. It doesn't feel faithful to the arcade original, but certainly it still plays well. I didn't really have any issues with it. It looks clean. I think it's got a better frame rate than the 32X version, for example. And actually, I think they did a pretty good job retrospectively. So Virtua Racing is at number 6. At number 5 is Sonic R. Now this game needs no introduction. The visuals are absolutely stunning. The reason it's so low comparatively versus the visuals is basically it's not necessarily a strong racing game. It was very easy to complete, but essentially it was more of a platformer. You spend the first couple of laps running around grabbing as many things as you can, and then the last lap basically trying to sprint to the finish. The actual racing and the finesse, there's not a huge amount to do outside of the races where you've got the 5 coins and have a challenge to unlock the characters. So for me, this one is still brilliant if you're a Saturn owner. I mean, you can see from the visuals here, you have to try this one out, but that's why it's number 5 on this list. At number 4 is F1 Challenge, and this is a game I'm stunned I missed when it originally came out. The game features licensed F1 cars, it features 3 licensed tracks as well as some Sega specific tracks, and it's a whole lot of fun to play. It's more arcade than sim, but it runs at a great frame rate. It looks really good, and is a whole amount of fun to play. So how I missed this, I picked this up later in the life cycle when an F1 game would have been incredible back in the day, but I'm pleased to say the game actually holds up incredibly well now. So F1 Challenge is at number 4. A game that I think got way too much stick back in the day was Daytona USA. Now, the original version, yes, the frame rate was horrible. Yes, the visuals were scaled down. Yes, the draw distance was not great. But the actual game, the core gameplay and all the aesthetics, they all made the cut. And actually, it's really fun to play. This really did handle just like the arcade version. Yes, a little bit more TLC would have been great, but sometimes I think on the hardware to have that many cars, 40 cars in a race and achieve that in 1994 was a really incredible feat. So Daytona USA, this version, okay, it doesn't compare to the 360 version that came out and PS3 version, but it's still good fun. So it's my number 3 Sega Saturn racing game. So number 2 is the excellent conversion of Wipeout 2097 or Wipeout XL if you're in the States. The Saturn version held up extremely well and is really fun to play. It wasn't quite as crisp as the PS version, and it obviously didn't feature the soundtrack, but it certainly was right up there in terms of gameplay. Everything's intact and it's a huge amount of fun to play. And in terms of the visuals, it certainly showed the 3D that the Saturn was capable of. So I think it looks great. It's still a lot of fun to play. I love the original Wipeout trilogy. I still play the games today. So yeah, Wipeout 2097 is number 2. Before we get our number 1 pick, I just wanted to talk about a few games that didn't make the cut. Now, the first is Drift King, which was a Japanese-only game that came out in 1997. Thankfully, this has been completely translated to English. So if you want to pick up the English patch for this one, this game is still pretty good. It's a little simple visually. It looks a little basic, but it controls well, it plays pretty well. So it may be worth taking a look at this one. Another game which didn't make the cut is Sega Touring Car. Now this is probably one of my biggest disappointments in gaming. I loved the arcade machine. When I heard it was coming to Saturn, I was super excited. You know, back in the 90s, I begged my parents to grab it. They did full price, and obviously when we got the real game, the biggest issue, I can do the toned down visuals, I still think they look okay. The biggest issue for me was just the controls were just not great, and the game just did not play well. So that's why Sega Touring Car Championship misses the list. And the final honorable mention, I guess, is Road Rash. Now, this is not as good as the Mega Drive trilogy, but actually it's still a pretty good game. It runs at a stable frame rate. It's pretty fast, pretty smooth. It just lacks, I think, the polish of the Mega Drive trilogy, particularly Road Rash 2. But if you're looking for a motorcycle game outside of Manx TT, maybe worth giving this a look. Which brings me to my number one pick, and I think everybody knew this was coming. Sega Rally is a masterpiece. Yes, it's only 4 tracks. Yes, it's only 3 cars, but the control is perfect. The diligence and the care that they took in bringing this and converting the engine perfectly from the Model 2 original was really impressive and looks great. And the game still holds up today. I can still play this with a smile on my face. So this is why I think it's the number one Sega Saturn racing game. Now, did I have fun making this list? I was apprehensive about it. I actually really enjoyed it and still think there's a lot to be taken from these classic racing games. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, like, subscribe. If there's any more content you want from me, let me know in the comments section, and have a great day.
Round one. Ready, go! Knockout! Round two. Ready, go! Knockout! Round three. Ready, go! Yes! Knockout! Round four. Ready, go! Knockout!
Well, 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 well.
이 수영복 팬티를 입고 와이프한테 이벤트 해주고 있는데 갑자기 장모님이 나타나면 과연 형은 얼마나 쪽팔려 할까요? 저 이거를 저한테 제안해 주셨는데 뭐 이거에 뭐 스토리가 있나요? 어떻게?
항상 저희가 딴 거 안 쓸 때
네.
오빠가 잘 춤도 춰주고
네.
하거든요. 근데 제가 진짜 화났을 때
네.
이거를 입고 이게 어디서 났는지 모르겠지만
뭐예요?
이걸 어디서 구해와가지고
네.
이걸 입고 추더라고요.
오.
진짜 화났을 때 제가
근데 왜 화날 일이 뭐 있었어요?
거짓말했어요.
거짓말 쳤어?
입히게 하려고 분명히 오빠가 이거 입어요.
네.
100% 오빠 이거 입고 꺼내올 거예요.
그러겠죠. 강아지가 그 산책 가자면 목줄 꺼내듯이. 그럼 장모님은 지금 어떻게 오고 계신가요?
지금 오고 있어요.
야, 출발해 보도록 하겠습니다. 부릉 부릉.
오빠 나 진짜 생각할 소리 너무 열받아. 너무 화가 나 진짜로.
미안했잖아.
아니 왜 거짓말을 해. 나 거짓말하는 거 싫다고 그랬잖아.
근데 거짓말하면 진짜 미안한데, 왜냐면 또 수지 밑에 와이프 내려가서 일하니까 내가 또 거기서 술 먹는다고.
아니 오빠 나 거짓말하는 게 더 싫어. 술 먹고 와 이런 거.
아까 한 소리 했잖아.
누가 그래? 얘 그냥 넘어갈 일이야? 뭐야?
아우.
쓰레기 봉투랑 사와.
쓰레기 모터 사면 아플래?
무슨 사와 오빠.
알았어. 사오면 풀리는 거죠?
잘 냈어요?
잘 냈어.
자, 그러면 손님 오기 전에 카메라 찍었으니까 아빠 화장실에 숨어서 대기하시죠. 네. 가시죠.
이야, 다녀왔어요. 쓰레기 봉투 어디다 놔? 많이 있구만, 쓰레기 봉투.
Nestled deep within the Aichi prefecture of Japan, just a short train ride away from the city of Nagoya, rests an unassuming building. Within these walls you'll find the Sun Denchi Corporation, an electronics and services company established in 1971. It may not look like it, but it's within this building that gaming history was made. You might better know them as Sunsoft. For a short period in the late 1980s, Sunsoft stood as a prominent figure in the gaming space, delivering both amazing original experiences and quality licensed games for a variety of game consoles. From Blaster Master to Batman and Journey to Silius and beyond, Sunsoft built a reputation for itself that persists to this very day. And then, like so many other foundational gaming companies, Sunsoft gradually faded away. That is, until now. That's right, Sunsoft is back, and in celebration, I wanted to take you on a brief tour through Sunsoft's amazing back catalog of games, while also giving you a sneak peek behind the curtain at Sunsoft's original office as it stands today. We'll then finish off with a look at Sunsoft's latest release, the charming sequel to Hebereke, or Euphoria the Saga as it was known in Europe, and a whole lot more, so let's dive into the world of Sunsoft together.
Round one. Ready, go! 2. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 3. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 4. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 5. Ready, go! Knockout! You can't beat me with that! Round 1. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 2. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 3. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 4. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 5. Ready, go! Knockout!
Mission accomplished.
It was the dawn of a new era, the sun shining over the mountains, inspiring the name of Sun Denchi. The story begins in the early 1970s after taking subcontracting work in the field of ticket vending machines. Slowly but surely, Sun Electronics expanded into the larger field of electronics. From quirky vending machines to specialized pachinko computers, Sun Denchi managed to survive and grow during its all-important fledgling days. But in 1978, things shifted. Sun dipped its toes into the world of electronic games. Over the next 7 years, Sun Denchi would develop and release a wide range of coin-op games to varying degrees of success. One of its earliest games, and arguably most interesting, is Speak and Rescue, also known as Stratovox in the West. While the core gameplay bears some resemblance to 1978's Space Invaders, Speak and Rescue is the very first video game to feature real-time voice synthesis.
Round one. Ready, go! Knockout! Round two. Ready, go! Knockout! Round three. Ready, go! Knockout! Round four. Ready, go! Knockout!
You're no match for me.
Another major early release for Sun Electronics is Kangaroo, a game whose concept was born out of a magazine contest in which fans proposed a game concept in exchange for a cash prize. On the surface, Kangaroo resembles Nintendo's Donkey Kong, but it has its own unique twist and was a success for the company. They also found success with games such as 1983's Arabian, and of course, Iki, a top-down action game that has you controlling a farmer fighting back against a feudal warlord and his army of ninjas. For 1985, Iki did have some nice touches, including cutscenes with text presented in the traditional vertical format. It only runs at 30 frames per second though, which is unusual for an arcade game of its vintage. Between 1978 and 1985, Sunsoft would release 15 coin-op games across a wide range of genres. Not everything was a hit, of course, but this initial period marks the beginnings of Sun's ambitions in the gaming space. It also happens that every single arcade game the company produced during this era, and beyond for that matter, is carefully stored within Sun's game archive. Each board is carefully wrapped, labeled, and stored within these boxes, and for years they remained safely tucked away within this very building, the same building where development occurred all those years ago. They only re-emerged when Sun decided to restart game development. Unsurprisingly, Iki is one of the boards we found carefully placed within this archive, so we pulled it out, connected it to a super gun, and played a few rounds. The only thing really missing here is a CRT monitor. It's difficult to put into words that feeling you get when playing these games in the same room where many of them were developed. It's magical. But playing Iki today is also a reminder of its importance within the company's history. You see, in 1985, Iki, along with Super Arabian and Route 16 Turbo, were the first 3 games the company would produce and release for Nintendo's then new family computer, or Famicom.
ファミリーコンピュータの楽しいカセット情報。シングルス、ダブルス。
When the Famicom arrived in 1983, the gaming world would change forever. Now, these were the early days for Famicom, but already it had become hugely popular in Japan, and these initial releases marked a significant shift in strategy, including the dawning of a new title specifically for their games division, known as Sunsoft. Sunsoft's initial batch of Famicom titles were all rooted in more traditional early 80s design, and they did a good job at approximating the arcade experience. Super Arabian, for instance,